Hi guys, Vladimir is here with Coldwild Games monthly report for April 2020. As you might know, we've launched Merchant of the Skies this month, so I think this devlog and monthly report is going to be a bit more larger than usual, and I just wanted to cover the variety of topics. Some of them are income versus expenses as usual. Then I'll talk about the merchant launch overall. Then I will talk about why I'm not talking about numbers usually. I wanted to cover the custom translations of the game made of our community. And I actually wanted to cover the development of Merchant of the Skies and my emotional state overall, which sounds weird if you think about it. And I also wanted to say what's going to happen next. So, without further ado, let's start with point one. And monthly report for April, the actual financial April. So, the income in April has been greatly lower than our expenses, but that was okay and it was expected because the payout from Steam that we get is actually for the March, and March was quite uneventful, so that's alright. Overall, we've spent this month preparing for the release and then maintaining the release and supporting the build, and I'm going to talk about it more now. But first of all, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who bought the game, helped with translation, submitted the bugs. We appreciate it very much because I think all of this feedback allowed us to make the game better, and we have nobody but community to thank for this. So, thank you. Next, as you know, the merchant has launched, and overall, it was a good launch. The response was better than we expected. We had a few rather sleepless nights just to monitor stuff, and we were worried a lot. But it feels a bit easier now. I mean, now at this moment. And one of the questions that I've been receiving is about the number of copies sold or the income that we've been getting. And here's why I'm not disclosing it until we hit some cool number. And then I'll be like on Twitter, hey, thanks for everyone who purchased Merchant of the Skies X times. And then you'll know about this. But anyway, one of the reasons why I'm usually not answering these questions is I think growing in the 90s in Eastern Europe, I think most of my family felt like everything could be taken away from them in an instant by legal or illegal means. And this mentality definitely affecting me in a way. So even if I look at it, there are still illegal company takeovers happening in Latvia. And the number is super low, so there's objectively nothing to worry about. But I still don't want to show off too much. And especially since there's really not much to show off, at least yet. So imagine if I'd be sharing like numbers from 2016, I don't know, 500 euro earned in a year or something. And then those numbers, I would set the expectations that I'm sharing the numbers openly and publicly every year. And I'm not exactly comfortable with that for that reason, because if we strike success with Helen at one point, then it would be like flying the flag and just asking for trouble. That's how I perceive it. Not necessarily this is how it's going to happen or what's going to happen. But yeah, anyway, I'm super reserved for it. If you think about it, about my friends here, nobody is asking the money things. And it makes sense because I almost never ask my friends about how are they doing. Maybe only in cases if I need to help them. So yeah, I still have a rational fear, I suppose. And it might change. It's not really a business secret like that because I know some people are there like covering, this is my business, I'm not sharing anything. And I'm not this type of guy. I'm just not sharing much publicly, I suppose. Even though it could help. But yeah, hope you understand this reasoning, and I actually look forward to revealing some cool number when we have it. But for now, we don't. Okay, another point that I wanted to talk about is community translations. As you may know, the translations are mostly done by community volunteers, and that definitely helps a lot. And that definitely helped a lot when we were like super small indies, and we are small indies at this point. But I wanted to go through this part in particular, and why am I overall going to be a bit more hesitant with community translations with the next projects. First of all, um, the good sides. I think it really helped us build the community and actually find friends among people who wanted to translate the game voluntarily. And I feel like this is good for the people to make connections, because when I was younger, I was doing a number of community translations, basically pro bono, and I was happy to help. So I assume a lot of people who volunteer to help are happy to help, and that's great. That part we really enjoyed. Uh, but when I look at the problems with games like Starbound, was it? Basically, the game that made million, and then there were like community guys that got nothing out of it. I think this is my number one grip that is coming to life when I think about it. Like, imagine if me and Helen are going to make a super famous game at one point, and it just goes wildly popular, and it uses the community work, which people did for free. I'd be feeling very weird about it, I guess. It's because, like, hey, we have $1 million, like millions of dollars, but we couldn't pay for the translation. So that's one of the things why I'm hesitating about it, because I can't help but think that had Merchant been more magnitudes more successful, then I'd feel really bad about doing the community translations. Not because of the effort of the community itself, but because I'm asking people to do free work. And that's weird. But judging as how it is now, if I look at it monetarily, and let's assume I paid for all of the translations, I think most of them would never pay off. Maybe Chinese one would pay off for itself, but I'm still not sure if it would. Overall, the translations make the game accessible, and accessibility is what we want and what I really want to support, because it makes sense if more people who want to experience the game in their language can do it. But monetarily, right now, it wouldn't be a good investment. So we're like between those two sides, that should we use the help of people who do it for free, but on the other hand, we're profiting from it, even though it's really not that much. And it would never cover the translation expenses, to be honest. So, yeah, it's a dilemma. I don't think we're going to do it in the next projects, but whoever helped with this one, you have our games for life. Basically, this is what I'm going to do to everyone who helped with translations. I will be sending the keys to all our next games. So, on the other hand, if I think about it, I think Valve uses the same community translation techniques on Steam. The key here is not to, make people do work for you, like treat it as a work, but then another aspect of it comes into life, because, when I need to rush some patches, or not rush, just push some patches, sometimes I just need to ask people to, hey, can you quickly translate this one? And it becomes an issue if there are like only one or two people who are translating. Mostly when it's one person, because then like you're pestering this one person and just saying, hey, you should do it. But what right do I have to ask somebody to do something if they're not my employee? So that's a huge rant. Not really a rant, more like a question or an open discussion on what should be done and what shouldn't be done. So if any one of you who did community translations, and we're going to put it on Discord, like watch this part, please, disliked what's been happening and have like any issues, please let me know. And I apologize, even though I tried to approach it very liberally. Yeah, I really want to hear your concerns, and if you have something to say, please let us know. Yep, that's about it. So, right, to sum it up, community is nice. We made a lot of friends. On the other side, do we actually exploit people now? And it feels weird, even though we're not like super profiting from it. That's my thoughts. On the other hand, a lot of projects do this. So, is it okay? I wanted to keep it like a volunteer thing because it allowed me as a teenager to reach out to the world and find new friends. But on the other hand, I really don't want anyone who helped with translations feel unhappy about it. So if you do, please let me out and let me know, because I am worried about those things. Next, I wanted to cover some parts of Merchant of the Skies development and what's going to happen next. And I think the development definitely affected us. It affected our practices, how we do things, how we plan things, and I wanted to go through it. First of all, I think at the end of the project, when the whole campaign development, the last patch started, Helen really stepped up, and her making the plan of production and just writing the plot herself really helped to put it on track. Because before that, I don't think I was in a really good place. I think the worst part of early access, despite of us having this great Discord community and people being very supportive and understanding, I think it was my fear of under-delivering, and I was constantly afraid of, making subpar patches or just putting not enough content, and people will be like, hey, this guy is like not doing his job. The development of this game, like, it's a dead game, drop it. And especially I was afraid about it when we were working on the last patch for 3 months. But none of this happened. Still, it's just this feeling that, am I doing enough? Even if you sit and work for multiple hours a day. Yeah, this feeling kind of kept creeping on me almost all the time. I think if I need to talk about the emotional toll of it, I was having nightmares for more than a month, almost every night, and right before the release. And I still have them occasionally. I really don't know why it's happening, but I kind of lost sleep over it, and I really didn't think that something like that could happen to me, because like before that I was like, no big deal, like psychological things, they don't affect me at all. But right now I feel like the soul is very real because of the stress. And I think December and January were the hardest. I was really thinking about dropping everything and just disappearing from everywhere and just leaving all my life behind and just hiding everywhere, somewhere, far apart. But what prevented me to do it is actually the responsibility that I feel for the people, for players who play the game and who actually purchase the game, because I don't want to be the guy who abandons the game during the development, in the middle of it. In retrospective, I just want to say, when you feel unhappy, you perceive the world much more differently, and I think you need to be very careful with the decisions you are making. And I'm actually glad I decided to carry on. So, releasing the game on Friday, I knew that we are essentially forfeiting our right for the weekend, and this was happening, but I really did not expect the amount of support and maintenance I would need to do, which was actually a good thing, because it allowed me to improve the game vastly, add a few more languages, and it's great. But I think I worked for 10 plus hours in the first 7 days, and I was working almost daily. Like 12 out of 13 days, I was just working on the game. And I think I just want to take a break at this point. But just to assure you what's going to happen next, after I take a week or two break, we're going to work on the content update that we actually wanted to implement. So one more content update, non-essential thing, totally non-essential, but I think it's going to be very cool if we proceed with it. So expect at least one more content update, and we are also going to work on the port for the consoles. I'm not going to tell you which consoles yet until I have like 100% confirmed store pages and everything, but yeah, it's fair to expect this is going to happen. So that's about it. I will keep you updated on what's going on, even though don't expect content update to drop in the next month or two. I really don't want to give any promises right now. But yes, we're not dead. We're doing things, and we're always reachable by the forums or Discord if you want anything. Thank you for listening. If you have any comments or concerns, please let me know. I will try to answer it or address them. And Vladimir is out for today. Bye.